Jim's absolutely right about being an expert. If you're far enough away, I've been asked to speak in Alberta about the future opportunities in the agriculture industry, and I want to get feedback from our panel. Recent research shows that we're going to reach peak phosphorus in 2032, and we know what peak oil did. It collapsed a lot of the world economies and the world banks. So reaching peak phosphorus, from my perspective, is going to be a big negative for Canadian agriculture because we have virtually no rock phosphorus here. On the other hand, reading recent research, I'm going to be telling them about the opportunities in carbon. And one of the worries in the U.S. right now is as carbon values go up, they're forecasting that 59 million acres, the equivalent of half of Canada's farmland, will be put under hybrid poplar trees, which I fully support that assessment. So you have to feel like a schizophrenic in the industry. On one hand, you see some bad stuff. On the other hand, you see some awfully positive stuff. I'd like to get your thoughts on where you see the future of the industry going, and what are the issues that you worry about, and why do you remain positive about the industry?
I'd say I feel positive for the industry. Just so the world needs to be fed, and as more and more people come on board and are being able to afford to eat the more high-quality foods, the prices should go up. I mean, there's the other aspect of that too is production just keeps on increasing more and more. And we were talking earlier, South America especially. The world's going to produce more, but I think the world's just going to consume more. So I think that's the positive outlook on it. That the tree idea, that's a really interesting concept, and it's hard to get a grasp on every direction that the industry could possibly go. I think as long as farmers we keep on adapting to what changes and where the markets that we need, we'll be all right. But if we keep on doing the same thing for the next 20 years, we're going to go backwards. But as long as we adapt as we go along, I think everybody should be all right.
I hate to sound like a pessimist, and I'd like to say at the start, before I say anything else, that I am actually... No, not that I'm a pessimist. No, I actually am kind of... if I wasn't bullish on agriculture, I guess I would have quit a long time ago. But I can remember being at the Palliser Wheat Growers Convention in 1982 and having Paul Boudreau, who at the time was the president of Versatile, saying, nothing but great things as far as the future of agriculture as being a primary producer. Or I was at the United Grain Growers Convention when Mac Runtsman was president, and if you can remember that, you're pretty darn old because he's dead now, saying pretty well the same thing. In the intervening years, we've had some good years and some bad years. I guess as a primary producer, you bring up things like the rock phosphate concern, which is actually fairly new to me. I hadn't heard much about it before. Or you talk about carbon credits and carbon trading, which as a farmer I've been, thinking for 7-8 years, we're finally going to make some money off this, and haven't yet. I spend a lot of time, I think, flailing around with my head down, just trying to deal with the problems that are 3, 6, 12 months out. And I don't have a lot of time to worry about something that might happen in 5 years. And I hope that there are people other people, that I rely on them to look after those things so that they don't really come and boot me in the butt in 2 months' time.
I may give a little different perspective. I think what we've got going on is new technology. One, we're into variable rate seeding, we're into new and different varieties. Are our inputs today going to be what they are in the future? Not sure. Are we going to be asked to look at different ways and means of growing crops? Yes, we are. And I think you have to be open-minded in seeing what kind of research and development What kind of is in by way of government, by way of private industry? We've come a long way. What's the GMO industry going to do? We're battling a flax issue, which is a little bit different than the phosphate, but all has the same kind of connotation. Is that what are the end user, which is the consumer, going to agree to today? Because that's going to be the biggest concern that we're going to have is the end user and the consumer and what the political environment's going to be. So a lot of it's going to be keeping your eyes and ears open. For me, 25 years from now, I'm probably not in agriculture, or I'm an investor. The next generation are the ones that are going to have to figure all this out, and they're going to have to be attuned with it. They're going to have to be read on it and keep abreast of it and come to making decisions based on that. And that's a lot of what's going to take place in the future, is that we're getting a little bit long in the tooth. We're not as adaptable as we get older. But the next generation is going to keep us abreast of that. So it's always keeping an open mind, what works and what doesn't work. And there's going to be people that you're going to have your innovators, your first adopters, your second adopters, and that are going to lead those types of things on. So you've got to kind of figure out exactly where you are in that and accept that. But I think in those two things, between the phosphate issue and the tree issue, wouldn't hurt my feelings to see some marginal land go back into trees. Probably should have never been cut down in the first place. It won't hurt my feelings about phosphate usage if they can find something else, because there's going to be resources that are going to be depleted. It's what comes in play to replace that resource. And that hasn't come to play yet. But I'm pretty sure somebody's thinking about it.
The next question is, what are the issues that you think you're going to have to manage on your farm in the coming year? And Daryl, I'd ask you to sort of comment on what kind of feedback, what are the issues that they talked about in the young farmers in Europe?
It was similar thing as what we're doing here is a panel discussion, and doesn't matter where the farmers are from. I think there's 6 or 7 different countries. Labor is always on the forefront. No matter where you go in the world, everybody's worried about someone getting good help. A lot of things too is financial. That rate return on investment, that type of thing. You go to Europe, price of land's sky high. Machinery, everything's just so much different in that part of the world. But basically, it's a lot of the same issues. On my farm for 2010, it comes back to labor again, and just managing those day-to-day decisions, especially with an expansion. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of little learning curves as days go along. I think as long as I try and prepare myself, over the next 2 months, that when seeding time and spraying, those type of things come, that I'll be prepared. So I think that's about it.
Yeah, I don't know whether these CAFA guys just kind of screwed up on the people they picked for this panel or what, because I guess I've just got to kind of echo what Daryl had to say. In fact, I could see myself being a lot larger farmer if labor was not an issue. That's basically the reason that I farm the acres that I farm. In fact, that's probably the reason why some nights I wish I farmed only half as much as I do, because labor, in the short term, labor is an issue. The price of inputs isn't an issue so much anymore. A couple of years ago, of course, with the fertilizer scare it was, and as some of you who are involved in agriculture know, chemical prices have been actually decreasing, more than increasing. So, agriculture has not really been hurt by the financial crisis as far as lending, at least not so much that I can tell. So, yeah, labor is an issue now, and probably will be a decade from now.
I'm going to agree with Jim. Labor is going to be an issue. It's becoming more and more of an issue in agriculture. And part of the reason it's an issue in agriculture is agriculture doesn't necessarily pay well. And that's where some of the thought process have to change. If you're going to have quality labor, you're going to have to pay for it. In our operation as well, there's several things that are going to be planned out. And it's sitting around the table and working on that. Implementing planning meetings, basically, is what, and sticking to them. That's the hardest thing to do. Is you can have all the meetings in the world, but if you're not going to be dedicated enough to stick to them, that's going to be hard. So planning meetings, because there's a number of us, everybody gets their input or a chance to give their input. We have that pessimist as a brother, one of them, which is good, keeps you honest. Okay, and you need to have that to keep you grounded. So you're going to have labor issues. You're going to have maybe some production issues. There's going to be things that you're going to be tugged in 4 different ways. And it's all how that you communicate and work out the plan, the best work towards the end, which is a successful unit.